All right, Postseason Nation. My name is Reid Nelson. I'm joined tonight by Izzy Alkafas. This is This Week in Rec. 7 weeks now in the books. We just got done filming the UH Rewind, which will be available early next week. The Avengers defeated the Killer Bees 61-52. A lot to talk about this week. We're going to start with the topic of the night, everyone's favorite topic, and that's player behavior, suspensions. Precedents have been set in past seasons, and for the most part, we align with those precedents. If you cuss out a ref, you tell him to F off, you throw things at him, you're going to sit down for a long, long time. If you get ejected twice in a season, you are going to be, you have to serve a 1-game suspension. If you throw a bunch of basketballs onto the court, you're going to take a week off. Okay, so 3 suspensions. We'll start with probably the one that's going to be the longest and the most impactful to their team, and that's Patrick Evans of the Splash Brothers. The Splash Brothers, a brand new squad, a pretty darn good squad. Not great, not elite, but they've got some good players, and they had potential to make a little bit of noise in the postseason. Pat Evans will miss the remainder of 2014 after his on-court behavior yesterday. Specifically, what does that loss mean to that team?
Well, they're small, extremely small with him, and now they might be the smallest team in rec without him. I mean, he's their big man, and he's just a spark plug. You know, he works his ass off. Not the most talented guy outside of the paint, but it's just a big loss for him. Not many people that work as hard as him. He may not be the smartest worker, but he works pretty damn hard. Obviously, he's got something missing with that tirade. I can't believe it got that bad. It wasn't that egregious. I know that he felt that the game was kind of poorly called throughout, but he lost his lid, and he was walking out with his daughter and just cussing up a storm. I mean, it was not a how-to pretty much anything video. Let's put it that way.
You know, and I'm not going to rattle off the names, but we've had about one of these instances per season. Nobody wants to see them. They're not fun for anybody. Unfortunately, like I said, the precedent's been set anywhere between 3 and 6 months suspension, and we'll revisit it, I guess, at that time. So, very unfortunate incident. A little bit on the lighter side, or maybe not. Abdi Mutombo earned his second ejection yesterday. He will serve a 1-game suspension, not next week, as the Broncos don't play next week, I don't believe, but the week after, week 9. 1 game only. Again, now this is in the rule book. If you get 5 technical fouls or are ejected from 2 games, you get to sit out 1 game. What does the loss of Abdi mean to the Broncos for 1 game?
It's just 1 game. You lose it, no big deal. It's not like he's missing a playoff game where it really matters. Abdi's such a dynamic player offensively that losing him for any amount of time is going to hurt you for that period. But 1 game isn't a big deal. It's not like he's gone for the season like Mr. Evans.
The third suspension we'd like to announce is Adam Kidd's going to be suspended for 1 week for on-court conduct. For anyone who witnessed it, what does now he'll miss a game in Fridley and in Bloomington, 1 each, week 9.
Okay.
So what does that loss mean? Now remember, that's the Avengers club game, so that's going to be a big loss for him. But you can't do what he did and just carry on.
Yeah.
I mean, if we want to be in a league where that occurs, then I'll be in doing something else. I'll be farming or something.
Does Alan know about this decision?
Oh, Alan's on board with it. He's fine. Oh, no, about me farming? No, I don't think so. So Adam Kidd's going to miss 1 week, week 9. What are your thoughts on his loss?
I think the clubs. Here's the thing with Adam. It's you don't know what you're going to. Adam is like a box of chocolates, right? It's every game is completely different, and you know that you're going to get energy when he's on the court for the first 30 seconds. After the 30 seconds, you still know you're going to get energy, but you have no idea if it's going to be positive or negative. So, and he is the moodiest player. He could have the highest of highs on one possession, and then and he could be ejected the next possession. You know what I mean? Like, he could be on cloud nine, cheering, screaming, super excited, happy birthday, blowing out candles. The next possession, he's walking out the door. I don't know. I mean, maybe a doctor's visit's in order to make sure the balance is there, but they're going to miss him for the Avengers because he could give, a guy like Noe fits just because he's so aggressive and he's such a tenacious defender. And even a guy like Zhao, you can put him on him, say, just stay on this guy and don't leave him. And he can create havoc, and he's pretty athletic. He jumps passing lanes. Defensively, he's very underrated. So they're going to miss him for that game. I really feel that way. But Bloomington, obviously, it's whatever. I mean, they'll miss him, but I don't think they have a chance of making the postseason, yeah?
The Squids?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Speaking of postseason, we're right around the corner. There's we talked a lot on the UH Rewind about what the top is going to look like. What team in the teens could surprise, make a run? I'll start, and while you think. I think Callahan out of parts. They could be a team. They beat the Avengers. They've got a defensive MVP type candidate in Kevin Chase. They've got guys who can score. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but that's a team that if they get in the right bracket, you could see that team in the Final Four.
Yeah, if they get in the right... I just can't see them rattling off enough games. It seems like they're missing something, whether it's just that little bit of... They're good at a lot of things, but they don't have that thing that they're great at. And that's the thing that's going to hurt them come postseason. My team would probably be the Muskies because they're great at one thing, and that's hustling and playing their defense that Junius kind of employs for them. But I like that team depending on the road because they could. The only teams that they really have trouble with are teams that are really good offensively, and teams that play well together because they can beat the trap and they can beat any sort of press that they throw at them. With Callahan, they could lose to anybody because, like I said, they don't excel at one part of the game. So I don't see Callahan really making a run, but I can see the Muskies making the Final Four.
The Gorillas 6-0. Their two biggest games of the season coming up. Is that an 8-0 squad? We haven't had an 8-0 squad for I think a couple of seasons. I think 2 seasons ago it was Club was 8-0, or was that last season? Club Killer Bees were both 8-0.
Yeah, I think it was last
season. Yeah. So.
But in Bloomington,
going 8-0 is not an easy task.
Yeah.
Do they do it?
No. I mean, Goodfellas, Rebels back-to-back is asking a lot out of any team, regardless of how deep and how good the Gorillas are. And, I mean, talent-wise, the team is pretty good. But I don't think they can beat the Goodfellas and Rebels back-to-back games. If they do, it's just another feather in the cap. But I guess the postseason's what the Gorillas are kind of eyeing. We've put together a lot of 6 really good games. I think we start out slow in all 6, but we've showed that we can beat anybody at any given time. So we've kind of already eyeing the playoffs and the start of the playoffs. So I can see us dropping one or both of those games, and I don't think we're going to really skip a beat. So I'm going to say 1-1, week 9. I think we beat the Goodfellas and we lose to the Rebels. I think the Rebels play the Blue Chimps, and the Blue Chimps is not a tough game for the Rebels.
Give me one dark horse MVP candidate this season.
Oh, I mean, you're putting me on the spot.
I'll give you a dark horse while you think about it. Kind of like what we just did with Callahan Muskies.
Yeah.
So my MVP is Ryan Jansen. But will the Players Committee put him on the list? Who knows? And I get it, but he's the most valuable player. But another guy from that team, and again, the Rebels are fresh in my mind, It's Paul Ferber. Okay, and I mean, it's what he does is both offensively and defensively are just, they're second to none, and you can make an easy case that he's the most valuable defensive player in the league. And with the way the Rebels played yesterday, I could easily see him running the table to the championship game, and then they play the Gorillas maybe. That's my dark horse MVP candidate, but again, my vote will go to Jansen. We'll see if that actually happens. Who's yours?
Honestly, I think the player that's had, I would say DuPont, and the reason why
it's Rebels hour here.
It's Rebels hour, and I think he's just so important for both. He's got 2 teams, both of them only have 1 loss. He runs the show for both teams, and even if his stats don't show it, you could tell that without him, both teams are not 7-1. And you can say that with a lot of the players on the Rebels. You can say that about Paul. You can say that about Jansen. But on Fob, he is definitely the head and shoulders the most important player for that team. So I would say DuPont is the dark horse. I don't think his stats match up. But when you really look at the framework of what he's done throughout the season and how his defensive prowess and what he brings, it's hard not to pick a guy like him to win it.
A lot of what who makes the Final Four depends on where you get seated, and not only because some teams match up better against some and others don't against others, but because if the Avengers were to play the Gorillas or the Rebels play 5-5, that is an absolute game changer. Where if Dustin plays for the Rebels, then you might as well not even show up. If Chris and company play for the Gorillas, then the Avengers. You know what I mean? It's a huge shift. Would you ever envision a scenario, and I'm just throwing this out there, UH Nation, just throwing it out there, where we go to champions in each league play against each other?
I hate it.
So do I, but I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just looking for talking points.
Yeah, I hate it because I think this season the 2, arguably the 3 best teams are in Bloomington. And I think if Rebels, Gorillas, Goodfellas, not Rebels. If the Rebels, Gorillas played anybody in Fridley, it would be a rout.
I agree. One of my favorite parts of the whole season is seeing where teams match up, seeing who's playing each other. I hate when we get to the Sweet 16 and it's Bloomington versus Bloomington, Fridley versus Fridley. I want to see cross-conference games. That's the best. So, Week 7 in the books. A few weeks left. As always, it's going to be a lot of fun. So any final thoughts?
No final thoughts for me. I will call out the Goodfellas here. If the Goodfellas want to win a championship, they need to go to Ryan Samuelson early and often, get him involved in the game. It'll get him involved defensively. And then they can breathe a sigh of relief because once Ryan Samuelson gets going, once Manu Ginobili gets going, it is impossible to stop that guy. Sometimes they ignore him, and Kavarian dribbles his ass off, and then Josh gets involved. Get the ball to Ryan early, let him get going, and then build from there. That's how they got to win the title, because they definitely can. But that's how they got to do it, in my opinion.
Thank you very much, sir. Have a wonderful evening.